Hello, Mike McArthur from the Oshkosh Public Library, here with some Librarian Learns bonus footage. So for the last video, the history of the SOBs, I interviewed a number of old, long-time SOB members at their annual picnic. And I ended up with way more information about the history of the club and their own personal experiences that I had time to add to the last video. So here is sort of an extended version of the interviews with the SOBs. Enjoy.
My name is Scott Westfall. I'm the president of the Society of Oshkosh Brewers. Been a member of the club about 16 years now.
My name is Chuck Tomsovic, and I've been a member of the Society of Oshkosh Brewers, the SOBs, pushing 20 years. I don't know exactly when I started, but it's been about that long.
Hi, I'm Jeff Eaton. I've been in the club about 8.5, 9 years.
Okay, hi, my name is Mike Engel. I'm past president of the Society of Oshkosh Brewers, and I believe I've been president for about 20 years.
My name is Doug Post. I've been an SOB for approximately 5 years.
Spencer Morris, been a member for about 5 years.
Hi, my name is Mark Stanek. I've been a member of the SOBs since 1998.
My dad worked at Heilemann's for over 30 years in lacrosse, so beer has been in my blood forever. My younger brother got into homebrewing at a club in lacrosse, introduced me to it, loved it.
My dad used to make wine. For one Christmas, my brothers and we bought him a brewing kit. Every time we'd see Mom and Dad, we'd say, "Hey, Dad, you dig out that brewing kit? You get it going or anything like that?" It got to the point where he got sick and tired of us. So he says, "If you're so interested in this brewing, why don't you brew something with it?" So that's what I did.
I toured different breweries, and through touring different breweries and sampling beers, I'm like, that would be kind of cool to try brewing my own beers.
My wife bought me a kit for Christmas because she knew I liked beer. I didn't know about craft beer. It took me about a year to get started with that.
It probably started with just our love of drinking craft beer.
We were sitting around a campfire. I was like, man, it would be fun to start brewing beer. Everybody's brewing beer. You just need some specific equipment, and the sky's the limit. You can do all kinds of stuff. But Spencer, there's a bunch of friends, and Spencer's the only one that was like, let's do that. That sounds like a good use of our time. We bought all the best equipment we could get our hands on, and we bought a kit from Fond du Lac, and we butchered it. It was a spotted cow clone that was dark red. I burnt the sugar. It was bad.
Yeah.
It was good.
Well, that's how we started.
Tasted fine.
Yeah. we drank it. We drank it all.
I started with some coworkers back in Madison that were into it, and we talked about it. There was a homebrew shop in the area. I read some books, and I got into it. It was hard to find good beer. You really wanted to brew your own to get the styles that you couldn't find, and that's kind of how it started.
I heard about it through a neighbor of mine because he knew that I was dabbling in brewing and everything. He says, "Hey, I'm a member of the SOBs." And I says, "Well, what are the SOBs?" And he told me about it, and he brought me to a meeting and met some people, learned some things, and I thought, I'm signing up for this. And at that time, it was just myself, but now my wife and I were members.
I moved up to Oshkosh about 18 years ago, started looking for a club, found one by going to O'Mara's Public House. Rest its soul, no longer there, but Sean was part of the club and introduced me to it there. So I've been a member ever since.
I actually brewed so much beer that I wanted to find a place to get rid of it, so I heard they were having an event, which is Cask and Caskets, event that we used to have for charity, and I contacted the president. He's like, "Yeah, come to a meeting and we'll talk." So I did, and then we never stopped coming to meetings. That's how much we came.
So she bought me a kit for Christmas, and it took me about a year to get started with that. And I hadn't joined a club at that time until I moved to Oshkosh. And then at which point I found out about the Society of Oshkosh Brewers and decided to join.
We just started talking about brewing beer, and we just ran into so many people. They're like, "Well, the Society of Brewers, right?" And at first we had no clue, and everybody and their brother, as far as even Green Bay, we were talking to people. They're like, "Well, you've heard of the Society of Brewers. very respectable Oshkosh Brew Club, and it was just more of just talking about beer.
Talking about how much they respected it.
Yeah, and it was just everybody was like, well, you haven't talked to the SOBs, like we were idiots. Like, have you not gone to the SOBs? So that's how we heard about the SOBs, through the word of mouth.
Ran into the president of the SOBs at the current time. I didn't know that, but he was struggling moving a tree in a wheelbarrow. He lived right next to my in-laws, and my wife said, hey, you should get out of the car and help this guy. So I did, and we started talking. I moved a couple trees with the guy, and we started talking homebrewing. It turns out he was the president of the SOBs at that time. So I'm like, all right, I'll be at the next meeting.
So many different things. It has changed completely. We have a homebrew supply shop in town, which wasn't here when I started. Had to order everything online and get it shipped, or go down to Milwaukee and get it. The type of ingredients you can get has completely changed now. There's so much available, and now they make everything so easy for you. So from a home brewing point of view, you've got every piece of equipment you could ever want, every ingredient you could ever want, and now there's YouTube videos everywhere telling you how to do everything exactly. So basically, I'll tell you this, there is no excuse not to homebrew now, because it is absolutely easy.
But things have changed with technology, with the internet. There's more out there. You don't necessarily need to be part of a homebrew club to learn about making beer, but it's good to do it together. That's a good way to learn. Things have improved tremendously over the last 15 years in terms of getting ingredients. You can get anything you want. You can get any malt you want all over the world. Belgian malts, German malts, European malts, organic malts, hops from all over the world, yeast strains. What's available to the home brewer is absolutely incredible. So that's kind of cool. You can really make some cool stuff on your own.
I feel like it was a little bit fringier at first, and now it just seems so mainstream.
It seemed like it was an old man game from the outside in the past. My perception has changed quite a bit. Now it seems like it's got
every age level,
a revitalization. Yeah. Maybe in the last 3 or 4 years of like a new gen, and the people that were younger at the time, like their dad was an SOB, and they were like, that they were coming up with it. But now it's like we're a wider age range, I suppose, and
we're 21 and up.
But everybody's still chasing that.
We've nurtured a lot of members to start their own breweries, which that's kind of like a feather in our cap. I mean, a lot of breweries. Craft breweries, good craft breweries, have been spurned by being a home brewer and the club. So I think we've done our part in changing the landscape for craft beer in Oshkosh.
Obviously, there's a lot more breweries. A lot of those breweries are people that were in the club and just developed their brewing so far that they were ready to do it professionally.
When I first moved up here, we had, I think, just one brewery here and a brewery or so up in Appleton. The landscape here has changed completely with all the breweries and the cidery and the meadery we have now. So many of the people working at these or brewing at these places have come from our club. The guys from 5th Ward, Jeff from Lion's Tail, Jody at Bare Bones, Spencer and Doug from the Cider Works. So many different things. It has changed completely. We
used to do Brews and Blues in Oshkosh, which was pretty popular back in probably the late 90s. So we would have a huge tent, or not a tent, a booth with like 15 beers on tap, maybe meads in there too, wines, and serving the people of Oshkosh, just having a great time, local music, and just having a blast.
We've done so many bus trips to different breweries, Milwaukee, Green Bay, gone to the Great Taste of the Midwest with a handful of people, gone camping. We've done brew days at people's houses. We've done a couple of different crazy brews. We did a stone brew one time where you heat up stones in a fire and then you drop them in your wort, if you want to call it that at that point, to boil your wort, just like they would have done back in Scotland, hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
Events like today are always the funnest times. It's always kind of like a group of family, get together and talk about beer. It's always been great.
The first Saturday in May is Big Brew Day. It's a national type event. I mean, home brewers all over the nation are celebrating that particular Saturday. And I remember on one particular Saturday, we had a very, very good turnout down at Omaro's Public House. And we ended up, I don't know how they score this or how they rank it or what they do, but we were chosen as the top brew club participating in that Big Brew Day in the nation. So it was quite an achievement, just kind of jaw-dropping for, little local club, in the middle of Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And that was something that's big.
They had a beer competition that also allowed cider, and we entered our cider, and we got second and third in the SOB competition, and we were just like ecstatic cider guys and make, in a beer club and to win that second and third. Like, I still covet those trophies probably more than like other trophies.
Honestly, I was going to say that exact same story, but it was like watching you win was probably my favorite part. But the second part of that was when we went to Cask and Caskets. We had just a line of people that were there to taste our spicy cider with the Carolina Reapers you grow. Everywhere we went, people were like, "Oh, I don't like ciders," and we were like, "Good, try these ciders." And, we'd get good feedback, and it was great. People enjoyed it. This was like, they're like, "I got to go get my friend. He's got to try this." That was awesome. That was like a night I don't think I'll ever forget.
That was good. Cask and Caskets.
There are so many. I mean, there's so many. I'd have to dig back into the annals to, of the club's history to recount even one. I mean, I've been instrumental in we got a lot of good people helping out by raising money for the nonprofit in town here. So we did Cask and Caskets over the years, and we raised, I think when all is said and done over the years, we raised somewhere around $26,000, and we gave, that money went to the food pantries of Oshkosh and surrounding areas. So I think that was the funnest time that I've had.